Mile High Huddle.
Zach, let me pivot real quick. I want to get your thoughts on what DeMarcus Ware had to say about Von Miller. Late last week, of course, he joined Schlereth and Evans on 104.3 The Fan and talked about the fact that he's still dispensing advice to Von, some guidance to his protege and whatnot. But what was interesting about this particular remark that I'm going to quote is what he had to say about the perceived or supposed, we've talked about it on this podcast, we've questioned it, the idea that Von might be declining, right? He's 31 years old. Last year, he appeared in 15 games and did not reach double-digit sacks for the first time in his career, not counting 2013, in which he was suspended and injured his knee. So here's what Ware said, quote, it's just crazy talking with Von. I think that one thing that he is really, really trying to do is to build a team around him, right? Knowing that he's been where the guys kill him 100% of the time, talking about the opponent. So I told him, if you can focus everybody better around you, then you're not going to get doubled as much. I didn't see any of his play declining at all when asked directly, are you seeing signs of Von's decline? He said, quote, I didn't see any of his play declining at all. It's just the way that teams are really just focused on him. Once Bradley Chubb got hurt, everything was just more of a fan, meaning offensive line on that side of the line of scrimmage kind of fanning out double and triple to take him on. They're bringing a center, their guard, a tackle, putting a tight end over there. They're chipping him. If he goes over to the right side, they bring the running back over there and chip him. And then last thing here, I know exactly what it's like, especially in my younger years, of being focused on, as far as the opponent focusing on him. Then I started thinking to myself, how do I make myself better? Because you can't just go, oh, well, there goes my career, right? They're triple teaming me. I guess I just go home now. You got to find a way around it. Then I started thinking to myself, how do I make myself better? That's where he's at right now, is saying, hey, I need to get the guys around me better, and then I'll be able to get a lot more one-on-ones and be effective. Close quote. Zach, your thoughts on Ware?
A lot of excuse making, in my opinion. I mean, I respect the hell out of DeMarcus Ware. He knows more football. I mean, he's forgotten more than I'll ever know, and obviously he's a future Hall of Famer, it looks like. But I mean, you're going to tell me that Von wasn't getting those kinds of double teams and triple teams and having tight ends chip him and block him before Chubb's injury. Last year, you can chalk it up to him being overweight, his injury, Fangio's scheme, whatever. But Von is being paid like a franchise quarterback to get after the quarterback, and he did not do it well enough last year. It could be a combination of things, Chad. It was a down year for Von. Everyone's entitled to one. Even Michael Jordan missed shots. But Von did have a down season. He was not himself, and he does have cause to be criticized for this. It seemed like Ware was making excuse after excuse after excuse, and I respect it and I appreciate what he's saying, but Von is being paid like an elite pass rusher, and he was far from an elite pass rusher last season.
But what do you think to the idea that in order for he might not be declining per se. We don't necessarily need to go down that road, but he is getting older. Yeah. You're going to slow down. Father Time is undefeated. I mean, he's 31 years old, and I've never been, of course, a world-class athlete like Von Miller is, but he would be the first one to tell you that there's a big difference between being a 23-year-old athlete and a 31-year-old athlete. And in most cases, it's just that quick twitch starts slowing down a little bit, and then when you get hurt, it tends to linger longer. You don't heal as fast. So the idea that DeMarcus Ware is speaking to, that the way around it, the solution here, is for Von to take on even more of a leadership role, do what he can to get his teammates demanding more of that attention so that it gives him more of those one-on-ones. Because in one-on-one situations, Von, there are very few tackles in this league that consistently can keep Von from the quarterback. Is that a feasible, realistic expectation, though, for him to do in this defense with the collection of talent we know that's around him?
I don't think Von is declining. I mean, this year will prove whether 2019 was an outlier or whether it was a sign of things to come from Von. I happen to think he'll bounce back this season and be more of the Von that we've come to know. But he's being paid again to win those one-on-ones. He's being paid to be a team leader. So these all come with the territory. He literally and figuratively signed up for this, Chad, when he signed then the richest contract for a defender in NFL history. He was worth it for the first couple seasons after it, but he declined last year. He fell off last year. You can call it what you want. You can make the excuses, but he's being paid a lot of money, and he has to perform better than that. I don't think he's declining, but he has to step up his play in 2020.
A reminder what Zach just said, you guys. I don't think he's declining. So before anyone gets on their soapbox, he's not saying that Von's declining. But what he is saying, and I think we can all agree to this, right? I think right now what I'm about to say, everyone can nod their head and say, yes, Von has to be better than he was last year, right? At least with the kind of money that he's making right now and the way the defense is kind of centered around his pass rush and his ability to hold the edge, he just needs to produce at a higher level than he did last year. And I think Zach was onto something there when he talked about, whatever the reason might be, there were a lot of different moving parts, from losing Chubb to it being a new scheme to, I think, Vic Fangio's defense not asking him to rush quite as often as he's used to, which lessens the number of attempts that he has to get to the quarterback. There's a collection of reasons why it happened, but you can't let that turn into an excuse. And Von would probably be the first one to tell you that. He's got to keep the pedal to the metal. And what Ware says, I think there is some truth to it, that if he can get everybody humming and this defense can get firing on all cylinders, then it takes more attention off him. And the problem with that, though, is not everyone can be DeMarcus Ware. Not everyone can be a coach on the field. So the onus for getting everybody to a point where they can, be little mini Von Millers, that's on Vic Fangio. That's on Ed Donatel. That's on Bill Carr and all the linebackers coach, Reggie Herring.